Hello everybody and welcome to Craig's Vintage Workshop, where I'm working to restore history one piece at a time. Tonight we're going to be taking the first look at my next project. It's a portable radio, I think from the late 40s, could be from the mid 50s. I don't have the schematic yet. I have to do some research on this particular project. I got it last year in Davenport, Iowa in a hoard of stuff that I got from a guy that I think I told you guys about. I bought like 13 different radios for like $70. This particular radio was the first one that caught my eye because I like unique things, and this is pretty unique. Anyway, it's made by the Minerva Corporation of America, and it's called a PortaPal, and it's a model 729. So we'll take a look at this thing together in this first little initial video, and then we'll see where it goes from there. So without further ado, let's have a look at this thing. Alright, so if we take a look at this, off the front, right off the bat, the first thing I noticed is it is missing a knob. And I've never heard of this brand before, this Minerva Corporation of America, as it's spelled out right there. Luckily this is in pretty good shape. It is somewhat yellowed, and the America's kind of got the A is kind of messed up on it. I can see through these dirty grill openings that the grill cloth is somewhat dirty. The knobs are very dirty and seized up. This one's not. Apparently the dial cord must be intact. This one is stiff as heck. That must be the on-off volume. So this must be like maybe tone control or something. But it's not in horrible condition. I mean, it's dirty, as you can see. Very dirty. Looks like it's got some sort of burn going on here and here. This side's not too bad. It may clean up okay. There's the back. Got some discoloration going on. Handle's in good shape. Dirty, but it's in good shape. I think it'll clean up pretty good. Let's go ahead and take the back off and see what we got going on in here. Because I haven't had this apart yet. There's some rubber that must have fell out of it. But it looks like that's pretty cool. Okay, so it's got some pegs that hold it in place. There's a thing that kind of tells us what it is. Yep, so you guys can see it a little closer. Model number 729, Minerva Corporation of America, PortaPal. Looks like it uses a 117Z3, a 3Q4, a I55 or a 155 IT4, and a IR5, maybe? You guys might be able to see that better if I put it up closer. Alright, let me zoom you up a little bit more. So, kind of odd looking inside. It looks like a shelf. Got the antenna here. Looks like a rotten cord. Very rotten cord. So apparently it's capable of running off AC or DC. Looks like we have some connectors for batteries or something here. Kind of bizarre looking. I don't think I've seen anything like those before. Let's go ahead and pull the screw out and see what things look like. Looks like the antenna is already kind of broken right there. It's a little bitty set, looks like, from what I can see inside there. Alright, so that's not allowing us to get that to slide out, so it probably screws in from the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and put that back on. before I break it any further. Alright. Put something down to flip that face over on so I don't scratch that face up. It's got some feet, but it looks like it's missing some feet. Missing one here. I did just get some feet for that BR44, and I have leftovers, so I suppose I'll probably just use some feet from that. Alright, now we're going to have to take knobs off the front. Looks like they have a little screw, at least this one does. Got a felt on it. It's actually Bakelite. I was thinking it was going to be, well, it may be plastic, I'm not sure. That one don't want to come off. And that sucker does not want to come off. There it comes. And I dropped it, hopefully I didn't break it. Wow. It's off. See if we can get this thing pull out of here. Looks like the wood is not going to pull out unless that wood slide comes out of there, because the wood is preventing the speaker from coming out. A little nail coming in right here. It's not a screw, it's a nail. But it ain't pulling out. But there's one on this side too. That one did pull out. It actually is a screw. A little teeny tiny screw. My eyes weren't good enough to see this slot in it. Let me get my magnifier over here, guys. I'm going to have to get this out of your range so I can see it. I'll bring you back. Okay, I got that screw out. Now I should be able to get the board to pull out, which will allow us to get the radio to pull out. I hope. Not a good place to grab it. There we go. And there's the wood. Kind of a interesting way this thing's made. Alright, let's get the rest of the way out and we'll get the cabinet out of the way. That's the inside of the cabinet. Metal plate in there. Okay, so here it is out of the cabinet. And I'll kind of take a look here at it. It's not bad dirty at all, actually. But one thing I do see is this particular tube. All these tubes have shields on them. This particular tube here, which I'm not positive which one this one is because I don't have a schematic in front of me, looks like it's been hot because it's got like some crap on it. As you can see, it's like heat crap or something like that. It does all look original. However, if we flip this over, See the bottom. Got all of the original paper caps and everything in it. The date on the inside says it was 3-way portable, so I'm assuming it's the 120. And then you got a combination of what we have here. I'm inclined to check my tubes and see what the tubes are doing, because I'd kind of like to power this up before I take anything and change anything. It'd be nice to know if the dang thing actually even works. Interesting cap there called a Tiger. I think I'm going to do that. Let's see if I can get these tubes out and get them into my tube checker and just see what the tubes look like, because I got a feeling that one that looks toasty has been really hot. Let me get the tubes out. Alright, so I got those tubes tested, and I wrote down up here on my board, and as you can see I drew myself a little diagram up here where everything goes, and I also do have the schematic and the location chart as well. But as you can see here, the 1R5 converter tube tested excellent. The 3Q4 audio output tube tested good. The 1S5 detector AVC first audio tube was terrible. It was bad. It was rejected in grid emissions. It was shorted in the 6 and 11 spot, and when I did just the general tube, it was bad. So I ordered one. The 1T4 IF amplifier tube was good, and the 17Z3 rectifier tube was good as well, and that was the one I was concerned about, because if you remember, it was all heated looking on that shield, but obviously the rectifier tubes get hot, and that's why it looked all burnt, but the tube itself actually tested good. So overall, not too bad. Now I'll show you what else I got going here. So there's the antenna, and I super glued the areas that broke, and it is clamped in my clamps now, so it should be fine once that all sets up. And I put a cover on the speaker so I don't put my finger through it. There actually was one bad spot in there that I'm going to have to repair, probably just with some liquid tape. That seems to work pretty good. And I was looking at the actual, I guess you would call it the surround behind the dial indicator. It's actually flocked. It's a tan flock, and it actually is in pretty good shape. Got a couple little boogers right here, but I think that those probably aren't seen anyway, so I think I'll probably just repaint the indicator needle and that should be fine. I don't think I should have to mess with that much. Now I might pop it off there just so I can clean some of the yellow coating off of this thing. As you can see, it's got that, I don't know if that's CAD dust or what it is, but I'm going to clean it off. I'm not going to get too carried away with this chassis, but I'm just going to clean it as best as I can with some Brasso or something. Let me show you what I've been working on as far as schematics are concerned. Okay, so here's the schematic for this PortaPal, and they call it PortaPal because it's combination AC/DC radio. And when I was looking at the schematic here for it, which is actually a pretty decent schematic, Bob got me the schematics on this, and I appreciate that. You all know Bob. I was looking at the schematic here, and I'm honest with you. I'm never going to use the battery portion of this, and I'm not going to make up battery packs that'll work with this, because it'll be special battery packs, and I'm not going to do that. So I'm planning on just removing the DC portion from the radio, and as I originally showed you, this knob here, I was like, well, that might be a tone control. No, it's not. It's the AC/DC switch, and there was no knob for it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove that switch entirely and the wiring that's all associated with it, and just have it AC. That's where I'm at right now. Like I said, I've got some good information that Bob found for me. There's some parts list on that one, and here's a chassis top view along with parts, and chassis bottom view along with some parts, and the schematic for the dial string, which is intact on here, but I'm going to take a look at it, see if I want to replace it or not. The other thing that I'm planning on doing, assuming I get this working, is I think I'm probably going to have this thing sitting in our kitchen, and when I'm out in the kitchen or my wife's out in the kitchen, we might have this thing running. Since we have very little AM here in Kiwani, I think we're going to Bluetooth it. So I created a portion of the schematic on Paint to add a Bluetooth jack, and I've ordered a Bluetooth receiver transmitter that uses a 3.5-inch male jack that plugs into a female jack. I'm going to have a female jack on the radio and a switch to control it to either use the Bluetooth or the AM, and I'm going to modify it for that. The Bluetooth I bought basically uses a lithium battery, so there shouldn't be any interference. You can charge it, it's good for 4 hours, and then you just recharge it. So we charge it once, it'll probably last us forever anyway, but I decided to go this way to keep from causing any interference in the radio. So we'll see how that works out. Okay, so I think the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and take this backer off here so I don't damage it. A little spacer behind there, make sure we don't lose those. One there. And one here. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is remove the DC section of the radio. So if we turn this around here so you guys can see, that's how horrible that AC cord is. It's completely shot, completely hard as a rock, completely messed over. No matter where I crunch it, it just breaks in half. So we're going to get rid of that. And then these are the DC connections. This whole little harness turning into the 3 wires over there. Going to remove this. I'll save all this. So if in the future, someday after I'm dead, if somebody wants to put that back in, original they can, but I'm taking it out. Let me flip this thing over. Okay, so here is this harness now that I got it flipped over, and you can see the connections. We have connections to the selector switch. We have a connection to a terminal strip here that basically is connecting this resistor to the selector switch. Then we have a black wire here that's going to the actual power switch. And I'm going to go ahead and get this stuff off. I'm also going to go ahead and cut the power cord off. We'll do that right now. I'm thinking I'm going to leave a little bit of insulation on that selector switch, kind of so in the future if somebody wants to see where that went, they can do that. So now I just got to get these wires undone. I don't really want to cut them, but I got to get this knot out so that I can get it pulled out of the chassis. Get them to come through the hole. We'll be in good shape. Yep, there we go. Okay. So that is the DC battery circuit. Now, let's go ahead and cut the power cord off. This stuff is, I don't think, this has got to be the worst power cord I think I've seen since I've been restoring these things. That one's going straight in the trash. Alright, let me get this figured out in here, getting that switch out, the selector switch out. Okay, I'm going to show you what I've been doing. So I was working off of the John Ryder's schematic and saw some discrepancies in it. So now I'm looking at Sam's PhotoFact, and this is the one I've been working off of. So I got that selector switch out. I removed the electrolytic cap, which I'm going, it's a multi-piece. I'll show it to you here in a minute. And I put my own caps in. So what I've been doing is, in green is everything that I have replaced. In the process of getting rid of that selector switch and cleaning up that end of the actual radio. So I've got this C15 cap, which is it's on the plate circuit, okay? And so I replaced that one, and then coming over here, this is one part of the electrolytic. This is a 47 microfarad electrolytic. Next to it here is the other 40 microfarad electrolytic cap, and it's tied in to the ground. It's tied into this multi-part resistor here. Then as we come around here, we have our 100. Then I had a wire that I had to tie in that came off the 3Q4 heater, and it came over here to this C16C cap, which is a 100 microfarad at 25 volts, I think it was. Unfortunately, I only had a 100 microfarad at like 250 volts, so it's kind of big, and it's in there for that, but it didn't need to be that big. But that's all I had. For these two, they called 40s. I put 47s in there. They were 40s at 150, and I put in 47s at 160. So I got it all tied in. I've got this C14 up here for the plate off that. I got that changed as well. It was a 0.005. I got a 0.0056 in there. Anyway, let me show you what I got. These two electrolytics are the C16 A and B's here. This one and this one. Okay. Those are the 47 at 160 instead of 40s at 150. This one is the C16C here, which was supposed to be 100 microfarads at 25 volts, which I didn't have one. So this is 100 microfarads at 250 volts, so way overkill, but that's what I had. And then I got the Y cap here, that is this C15 cap here, and the orange drop right here is the C14 up here in this portion of the schematic. So I've got my wires that were coming off the switch, I'm pretty sure, and they connected in the right spots. What I don't have in here is my line cord yet. I also have to get this volume pot switch freed up because it's like very tight, and I don't even know if it's functional. At this point I haven't got that far. I do have a 270 ohm resistor on the 3Q4, and it's a 5% resistor. It's supposed to be 270 ohms, and it's measuring out 335, so I got to change that one. But once I get that changed out and I get me a line cord in here, I may try and put some power to it after I get my volume pot fixed, because I really don't want to go through the rest of the radio until I know that I've got it right. Now here is the, get it far enough, let me back out my zoom so you guys can see this better. Okay, so here's the electrolytic that came out of it, and as you can see, it had the 240s and 150 working volts, and then I had there's two 100s on here, and I've only done one of the 100s yet. I haven't done the other one yet, but that's what I replaced. Now I'm going to put this can back in here just so it looks right. I'll trim the wires off and we'll put it back in there, but I got it out because it was in the way and I wanted to see better what I was doing, so I'll get that in there. Anyway, let me get this cleaned up a little bit more, get the pot working well, and a line cord in this thing, and maybe we'll see if we can get it to do anything before I go any further on it.